Hello, everyone. This is Hendrix from Star Sea Talk, and today we're different to the left, and we're going to talk about politics in Canada and just how everyone is, what's going on with COVID and stuff like that, like point of views and all that stuff. So today I'm going to introduce my buddy Frizz, my childhood friend, and Frizz, introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, Joel. My name's Jay. I've known Joel since I was a kid. We grew up together playing road hockey and guns and all that. And we kind of parted ways during high school. And now we're both, 34 and doing podcasts on a Friday night. I don't know if that's a good
crazy,
thing.
eh?
That's not quite what I thought I'd be doing at this age, but hey.
Let's go back 10 years to our 10-year-old selves and be like, hey, you're going to be doing podcasts on Friday nights with the Frizz.
Right. Strange times, strange technology. But you know what? Podcast is it's one of the best ways to learn. And when you hear authentic conversations, debates, arguments, I find that so fulfilling.
Yeah, it's a good way. It's a good way to release too. Like release all that inner fucking shit you just want to scream out there and get it out.
Yeah, well, as you know, like with the media, with the news, with social media, you're hearing a watered down one view for news, and it's hard to find anything that's counter. And if you start looking at anything that's against the media's narrative, you're automatically deemed like some conspiracy theorist or something, when it's just
terrorism.
What's that?
They call it terrorism now.
Terrorism. They used to call it just free thinking or critical thinking.
They're calling people in the United States, people that are on pro-Trump and people that are rioting against the government control, they call it localized terrorism. That's not terrorism. When did revolutionaries are starting to be called terrorism? That's just people not agreeing with the government and fighting back for their rights. That's called patriots. That's not terrorism.
Actually, that's an interesting point. I've noticed tactics both on the left and the right where they kind of use this hyperbolic way of communicating. So if you're on the left, then the right will kind of, as a knee-jerk response, consider you or deem you like a communist. And if you're supportive of Trump or even of some of his ideas, you're instantly called every vile name in the book, every name, right? So I mean, when he rose to the Republican, when he was the choice of the Republican nomination, he was quickly accused of being Hitler, being a Nazi, a bigot, a racist, a homophobe, a xenophobe, or like every phobe you can think of. And so if you support him or support part of him or his ideas, you are instantly, you instantly take on that whole vocabulary yourself. So then you become the racist and bigot and Nazi, and it's just a strange way to communicate. And what you can see, like on Facebook, I don't know if you've noticed, but people will say, oh, if you identify with this person or that person, just take me off your friends list. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, I've seen that a lot.
Right? Like, if you support Trump or if you support Trudeau, if you support this, and it's like
it's going both ways though. So
it's like, hey, I've known you for like 25 years. We've been friends all our life, but now that you're conservative, or if you're a liberal, just take me out. And it's family members doing this to each other. It's not just friends. It's like, like, bro, that's your mom. Like, you're telling me your mom all of a sudden was like this Nazi, like black hating woman. Like, don't you find that a little strange? Now you're not talking to her. So people, I'm serious. Some people are like, oh, I'm taking my mom off my list. She likes Trump, so she's obviously a Nazi, bigot, racist, anti. And I'm like, we've lost the ability to communicate with each other. We've lost the ability to disagree with each other. Social media doesn't help. Like, you can miss
media doesn't help in general.
Yeah, I think those two separate issues. But yeah, like,
well, the media here, like we have a 980 news channel, radio fucking AM show,
Mm.
and they're so like they're so brainwashing everyone. Everyone they bring on their show is so pro COVID lockdown, so pro we're the fuck idiots because we don't want to get vaccines. They literally said on the news the other day that there are people in BC that are against getting vaccinated, and like saying the narrative that we're weird. I'm like, you're fucking weird that you want to get it done, right? And all these people that call in, they're like, they're scared little kittens hiding in their basement for the last year of COVID. They're like, yeah, more lockdowns, more lockdowns. We support this new Trudeau lockdown where if you leave the country, you have to fucking test negative, then stay in a fucking hotel on your own expense for they're going to bill you for $2,000. And then if you test negative again, you have to go stay at your house for 14 days. And then you're under major surveillance, he said.
So you're not, are you saying you disagree with all that?
I do, like, and that starts Sunday till April 30th. And I tell people it's not going to stop. It's going to keep going and going and going and going. And there's more studies coming out now that real scientists that are against COVID, they're like, this disease is not going to go away in our lifetime. So we just need to learn to accept it, move on with it. All these variants coming out. There's always going to be a COVID 21. Now there's going to be COVID 26, COVID 31. And it's going to keep going and going. SARS was a COVID outbreak way back when, and we got over it. We moved on, and like it's just overplayed by the media. It's so controlled, and it's brainwashing everyone. There's people just are so scared, and they're turning everyone against each other. Pro COVID and non pro COVID people that are fighting each other over even wearing masks properly.
So when you say the media, do you mean all media?
No. There's some good online medias. I'm just saying the mainstream media, like even Canada's mainstream media, they're so like, even Bonnie Henry, she's like a scared little cat, scared of her own little shadow. She probably hasn't left her basement suite since last March either. So she's just a paid off puppet. That's all she is.
What frustrates me is the inability to talk about anything.
Yeah.
Like you're either, it feels like rooting for a sports team or something, and like you can see no fault in your own team, and the other team that's facing you is like the enemy. And that's how we're treating politics. That's how we're treating our friends. That's how we're treating our family. That's how we're treating every issue. It's like, I don't know. I've never really. So when COVID came out, what was it? February when it hit North America, Canada.
Well,
I mean, it seemed reasonable to take a cautious approach. Okay, well, let's just be cautious here. I mean, there's deaths, and I mean, I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast, and you see China was going around its buildings, spraying them all down with chemicals, and we're going like, okay, this seems a little wild. So let's be cautious. And then somewhere along the line, you start looking at data, you start looking at the death tolls, you start comparing them to other statistics, you start looking at the common cold, the flu, you look at influenza, cancer. And you start thinking, well, like, maybe it's not as bad as we thought. But like, whether you agree with that is irrelevant, but like, you're not allowed, where it is. You're not allowed to say that anymore.
You know what the crazy thing is? You hit the button right there. Is that people know that it's overplayed, but the lie has gone on so long that no one is gonna actually admit that they're wrong, because they're gonna keep playing the narrative. They're like, "Fuck, we're wrong," but they're never gonna say it. They're never gonna discredit themselves. They're just gonna keep going and going and going until it turns into 10 years of this shit.
So you think it's going to be like permanent?
Oh yeah, it's just think about it. If you go back in time, everything is a distraction, right? Everything is a way to fuck us over and make us like fearful. It's better to keep the population in fear at all times than a loving population that's free thinking. So there was 9/11, right? They had to open terrorism war across the world. That lasted 15 years. Then it finally ended when Trump brought all the troops home. Then now they created COVID. COVID is not, they said in March of last year that this is a 2-week lockdown. We're going on a year coming up here in March, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. People are so brainwashed, so scared. I can go to the mall and get in a fight with someone because I only wear my mask just below my nose because I'm medical exempt for breathing,
Right.
and they fight with me. They don't even let me in the store.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you point out those like the glaring hypocrisy or double standards, or just like, you know, what was some of those government officials they're buggering off to like Mexico and the Caribbean, and they're saying like, you and I can't go visit our parents or family for Christmas
When they're
dinner
in
or
Mexico and
Thanksgiving
Hawaii.
dinner. And you hear like the waves crashing in the background, like, oh yeah, this is super dangerous and everybody needs to stay home. And meanwhile, their kids in the back, like, Dad, come, let's go surfing. And you're like,
Yeah, and so that's just where the government officials don't even believe in their own rules, right? So, and then you think about the new rules that are coming up here with these lockdowns that we can't travel anywhere sunny. And they're like, so I'm thinking, I was talking to my girlfriend today, but I'm like, so how many millionaires and billionaires are going to fly on their private fucking jets to these nice places and land in their private airfields and get away with all this shit? And then the rest of us, because we're sheep, poor people, we just have to listen to all the fucking rules. How many government officials are going to fly off to their cabins? Of course they're going to.
so in your opinion, what's the end game? They're doing it just for control?
It's absolute control. It's a world economy and collapse to bring us onto social income assistance. So what that is
UBI?
a conspiracy theory, is to make everyone dependent on the government because they're killing out all the jobs with these lockdowns and get everyone addicted to the government taking control of, or no, the government taking care of them with the CERB payments.
The
But now they're going to,
basic income stuff, huh?
yeah, so that's what they're going to do, right? And then they're going to turn into a communist country, and then also they want to thin out the herd, which I also agree with. That yes, if a population is overpopulated and there's a virus, let the weak ones die off. This nature's always been about natural selection for millions and millions of years. That's just normal, and just live with it, move on. Like, how did we get over the Spanish flu and the Black Plague and all that stuff, right? We moved on from
Well,
it,
it's a
right?
good thing you're being tender about it.
No, but like I'm not
Just
going
let
to
the weak
ruin.
people die off. Obviously, that's just human nature.
No, but we can't say our nation was not founded on the opinions of the weak people. It's always the strong people that stand up and fight. Only evil only prevails when good people stand around doing nothing. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we've lost the ability to meaningfully communicate with each other. The mainstream media has worsened this by using like the worst characterizations of political opponents. We see this. We saw this with the rise of Trump, who was he was just consistently compared to Hitler, being a Nazi, being a racist, and so like it leaves no room. So like if you put on your Facebook like, yeah, Trump's like what so what did he do? Like he was the first president in decades to not get the states in a war.
Yeah.
And if you said like, yeah, that's hard to argue with being a bad thing. And you put that, instantly you're a racist, you're instantly a bigot, you're instantly like the X, Y, and Z. And it turns you into this, well, ultimately it turns you into an enemy.
Well, it's enemy for big money, right? That people make, what people, those industries make off war, right? And I always tell people, when the media is hating on someone like Trump so bad, that is the person you cheer for, right? Because the establishment always hates a free thinking voice, and a voice they cannot control. And I don't think Trump is done. I think the Insurrection Act has been signed by Trump, and I think the military is in power, and Joe Biden's going to be hanged for treason with a bunch of other people, and Trump will be back in office in March. Because his farewell speech had so many hints, and he said, I will be back, don't worry, the best is yet to come. And he is not the type of person, he never gave up for 4 years. Why do you think he's not just giving up right now? I bet you he's not the type of person just to abandon and let go, right? He exposed everyone. He exposed the big tech, the censorship, all that. He showed you who the Illuminati was. The world governments who are all controlled by this Illuminati. He exposed everyone. Now it's in play, where the Insurrection Act is signed, and that's why the military is all there to take back America, to bring it back to republic. And he will be the 19th president of the United States, of the Republic of the United States.
You think that for sure?
But if that doesn't happen, then the only other logic situation is a worldwide revolution. That's it. And if that doesn't happen, then we just sold out our freedom, and we're going to go down this dark timeline.
Mm. Okay, so for the sake of clarity, Donald. Okay, so do you think Trump won the election?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Look at Trump's rallies, right? There's hundreds of thousands of people there, and then you see Joe Biden make a speech. They always focus on him. They never show his crowd, and his crowd sounds like it's just CGI music in the background of people hooting and hollering, but they never show his actual crowd. And then they
20 people
cancel
paid to
his
be there.
parade because no one was going to show up. And then also the military on his inauguration day turned their backs to Biden as Biden was driving up to Capitol Hill. That speaks of big volumes right there.
Mm. Yeah, there's a video clip of Biden giving a little speech in front of the military, and he basically, what did he say? Oh, I should get Ange to pull up. Where Biden calls the military basically, what do you say? It's like idiots or you dummies. Can you quickly YouTube that and just see if that's on there? Biden calls soldiers idiot, mock soldiers or something. Yeah, it was so funny. Well, it's not funny; it was bad, but.
No, and this guy never did any campaigning at all. And so funny thing, actually, I have a guy that I play hockey with up here, and he's from the States. His name's Max Cohen. Everyone needs to remember that name. So me and him get into debates about Trump and Biden all the time, and he actually believes that 81 million people voted for Biden. I'm like, are you sure?
Well, if this person only watches 6 o'clock news, which the majority of people do, then there's no reason to think otherwise, because the media is so fine-tuned to spit out that narrative.
Yeah. It's just like my mom and
so it'll be 6 o'clock. This just in: Biden, the most popular president of all time. So that's all they're hearing. They filtered it, they cut it to make it seem like he was the hero. So if all you watch is, like you go from work, you do your 9 to 5, you come home, you have supper, and then, sorry, is that going through? And then you crack on the TV for half an hour, and it's just like the news is just one narrative. There's no even debate amongst people in the news media. Whereas, even 10 years ago, they would have had people with opposing views debate each other. We don't even get that. We just get CNN's opinion. We just get Fox's opinion. We just get MSNBC's opinion. There's no challenge. Yeah. Nobody challenges it. And if you do.
Yeah, well, I think it was the participation awards kids were brought up to with nowadays. No one wants to challenge themselves to win, right? They're just, if they show up, they think that's good enough to win. That's my view on people not standing up for, like, our generation wasn't raised like that, but the younger generation was raised like that. And that's why a lot of people think this, what you and me are thinking right now, but a lot of people are not willing to act on it. And I think that a lot of people that are on the news or mainstream media are just too scared to say what they really think because they're scared of losing their job and their income, right?
Yeah, I agree with you there. There is a lot of consequences for speaking your mind if you don't go against the narrative, again, because you'll be accused of things that are really hard to defend. Like you're white, I'm white. If I had a center right conservative opinion, well, you're just a white supremacist, white privileged,
white privilege. Like, what does that even mean?
It's like that's the default. So now instead of actually having the conversation, I've got to rewind and say, hey man, like I don't think I've ever had a racist thought in my life. Like, I love other cultures. I mean,
me too. I think they're amazing. So they're so interesting.
Yeah, no, my business partner, Vietnamese. I mean, the person's house I'm staying at is East Indian. You want to make a quick appearance? And say hi. Ange, hi.
Hello.
Doctor from India, and her husband's like one of my best friends. Like, anyway, it's just so silly. Like, if you have an opinion, you've got to go through that thing where you got to say, no, I'm not a racist. You got to defend yourself of all these accusations. Which is
yeah, that also comes down to like when the Black Lives Matters protesting happened in the States. That was fine. They burned down police buildings, burned down police cars. They killed people. They looted. They destroyed property, and that was justified. But people marching on Capitol Hill in the United States on January 6th was a terrorist act because they were fighting for their president. Like, look how they flipped that narrative. Flipped
Okay,
it, flipped it, flipped
hang
it.
on. So you're talking, okay, so George Floyd, right? That was in the summer.
Yeah.
You saw the video of George Floyd?
Yeah. And then I saw
And
his rap sheet
what did you think of
after.
that?
It was just everything that happens in our society today is completely planned and or flipped to the narrative to bring on more control, more control, more control. So the George Floyd thing was definitely overplayed. Like, no offense to anyone, but like, so rioting happens because a black person died from a police officer, but then a week later, a woman that was pregnant got tasered by the cops, and the baby died, and she also died, and nothing.
No peep. Didn't fit
No people. Then everyone's like, Black Lives Matter. I'm like, no, all lives matter. And they're like, no, white privilege. It's time for you to pay. Time for you to be lesser than us. I'm just like, well, I haven't even done anything. Like, white people were slaves in Roman times, and we got over it. Like, but then you say that comment to a black person, then they're like, well, this was more recent. We're not over it yet. I'm like, well, we're never going to move forward if you never get over it. Like, we haven't done anything in our generation to you.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack right there. That's you've hit some critical spots there on that one. Yeah, the issue of George Floyd, I first watched the video, and I think with everyone, like, I would love to think if I was there, I'd be like, man, get your knee off this guy's neck. It looks
no, I'm not saying what happened was right. But
yeah, I'm not saying you're saying it is. You're saying it was just
way overplayed.
Exploded to an extreme level because it fit a narrative, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm just saying anything that happens to a black person now, the world shuts down. But kids can be killed, anything can be killed, and it doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. If we're all supposed to be equal, then let's treat each other like equals and move forward together. Not
white person went through the exact same thing. You're saying it wouldn't even make the
wouldn't you make the news? No one will give a shit. They're like, oh, so what? So he's a white person. They deserve it for putting us in slavery. I'm like, that was like 70 years ago. Like, that's 4 generations ago. I have nothing to do with my ancestors. I'm sorry.
I mean, that's straight to the point. I mean, no one can accuse you of being ambiguous about what you're saying. I mean, you're getting right.
It's just that this world is so fucked up.
What they would say is, bro, like, you're lacking compassion. What do you say to somebody who's like, yeah, man, like, okay, that's fair enough. Like, the world has been a history of just savagery, and each nation, I mean, you could find any ethnicity and trace their heritage back 1 to 10 generations, and you'll find rape and murder and war and all kinds of atrocity. I give you that. So what do you say to the black person who was like, yeah, but man, it was just my dad. My dad was enslaved. My dad couldn't drink from the same water fountain. My dad, he worked the same job and he didn't get paid the same. Like, I'm not looking for your sympathy. I'm looking for you to just acknowledge it. Like, what do you say to that person who's just like,
well, I could easily fix that with this argument. You can just say this. Why the sons should never have to pay for the sins of their fathers. Look at Nazi Germany, right? So that means all of the Germans today, they still have to pay for the sins of their fathers. They never told their fathers to do that. That was their own choice. Now look at what they call white privilege. You and me are prime examples, right? How you grew up, how I grew up. How the fuck were we white privilege? We both grew up, a little poorer than most, but now we worked our asses off and we got here with hard work. And we, like, how is that white privilege? Like, just because my skin's white, I had opportunities? No, like, I worked my ass off to get here. So did you. If people knew where we came from, right?
Yeah, there's truth to that. So you're against they're talking about reparations. You're against reparations?
Yeah.
Totally against that.
Define reparations in your terminology.
Well, I think part of the Democratic platform, like Joe Biden and, well, the Democrats in general, were saying, like, they're bringing reparations to the table, which basically is like, we should find a way to pay or give some kind of incentive. I know one she didn't make the ticket, but she was talking about giving some incentives to basically black people to, like, have scholarship bursaries or educational incentives because of their parents or grandparents were slaves, or even I think there was like a property divide where like if your family heritage was like a slaves, you'd be entitled to like a chunk of property, maybe.
I have no idea about that program, if that's even a thing. I'm saying,
They're talking about it. I mean, some are for it's.
okay, if that's a thing, I'm pro that. That's cool.
You're for that.
Oh, if someone's life can be proven that they're literally, put down so they can't succeed, and then also this has to be a factor, none of their own personal choices, like if they're robbing people, if they're drug addicted, if they're being in gangs shooting up people, that gives you no excuse, because 5 generations ago your family was slavery. So you and me could trace back to white heritage, to the Roman days almost, if we could go really far back. Okay, so 16 generations ago my great grandma was a slave and raped and abused, so I deserve free college. Everyone has that heritage. We all come from the same gene pool. Eventually, we all can be genetically DNA identified within 3 people. So we have some kind of lineage towards each other. So at the end of the day, to move forward or complete, so what it is, even like Starseed teaches this, you can't get a negative out of a positive. A negative past, and you treat it with another negative, like, oh, I deserve retribution, I deserve this, I deserve that. That's just going to turn into a negative timeline. You have to kill it with positivity and love. You have to move on. You have to have forgiveness in the heart. If you don't have forgiveness, you're never going to move on and move forward. And then people are just so brainwashed by the news, the media, all this stuff just
for the sake of
them.
Playing devil's advocate, they'll say, yeah, it's easier for you to say you're white.
Right? And then all you do is you just do, I give up. I tried.
Bro, you're white. Your dad wasn't a slave. Mine was. You just need to just get over it. What do you say?
Okay. Then you know what? At the end of the day, you just give up. You just walk away from it, and you can sleep at night saying, I tried. Because as long as you tried and you try to do a good act, that's all you can do. And if it doesn't register with them, and if it does register them, like you plant the seed in their mind and it does grow, then eventually maybe they'll change. But if they don't, that's on them. That has nothing to do with you.
It's interesting, man.
This world is fucked in 3 million different ways. At the end of the day, to get us forward is positively evolution, change of the mind and the spirit. And to get to that point, we have to drain the swamp on all levels: spiritual, business, government, the lies, FDA, the poison in our fucking food, everything. It has to be all drained first. You have to cut the root of the tree out before you can have a new world.
Not quite sure what you're referring to, but sounds radical and not possible. I mean, to be like cynical, I don't know if that's possible when you look at history, what we've done and what we're capable of doing to each other now. Is it possible to have this utopia, this like
No, man, I don't
drain the swamp and then replace it with who? People like you and me? Like
no, because with absolute power comes absolute corruption. So it will repeat the same mistakes
who do you
again.
replace the swamp with? It's just people. I'm capable of disgusting and awful, evil things, and you are too. So you want me in power? Like I don't know. You want Susie in power? What's Susie gonna do? What's the answer?
I don't trust any human to do the right thing at all. I think eventually with it doesn't matter. Just like they said, good times breed weak men, bad times breed great men. So it doesn't matter if you fix a system. 30 years down the road, people can forget about what happened, just like people forgot about pretty much the revolution, how it started back when America had its first revolution, and then they eventually changed. But now we're entering into the same problem.
One of the main parts was to end slavery. Like it was I think I'll get Ange to fact check me here, but like I think we're the first nation to actually fight to end slavery. Can you Google that, Ange? First ethnicity to end slavery.
Like Canada or the United States?
Well, the United States, they had slavery, and then the founding fathers had this big guilt thing. I'm paraphrasing, of course. and they said like, this isn't ethical. But like, there's more slaves today than there was back in the day. You wouldn't know that. All you're taught is what's that?
There's lots. No, you're 100% correct. There's so much
And
slavery,
we
sex
actually
slavery,
fought
child
to end
slavery.
it, which is a good thing, hopefully, right? And there's still like the Middle East,
Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
Well, the Revolutionary War, what was it to end slavery? I mean, I'm sure it was about a lot of other things too.
No, the revolution, if you want to go American history, Revolutionary War was against the British for taxing before America happened. George Washington was the general, and he formed America after he beat the British. And then Lincoln ended slavery. That was President Lincoln.
So it says we weren't okay, so fact check, US was not the only, so there were other countries, but well, yeah, I know the British, what's his face, right? Wilberforce? What's the Amazing Grace thing? John Newton. Yeah, the guy who sung. So Britain did it, but like, yeah, we got rid of it.
We thought we did.
Well, we got rid of that form of slavery. I guess you're referring to the other forms of slavery, right? Debt and all that, right?
Debt and money, 1818, when the Federal Reserve came to be, all that stuff, right? So, and then also there's underground sex slavery, child bring slavery, women's slavery, all that stuff. Look at Epstein's Island, for example, right? That disappeared. What happened to that? That was, isn't it fucked up? Every time, look what happened in 9/11. Before 9/11 happened, a week before 9/11 happened, there was an investigation of the $9 trillion that went missing in the U.S. government, and then a week later, fucking the department of the Pentagon that was investigating where the money went missing, that's where the fucking plane missile hit and destroyed all evidence. Right? Distraction. Now there's more news coming out currently. I saw the other day on Newsmax. Newsmax is all full disclosure of real news, and they vouch about it. They're just an online news service. You can listen to it.
Newsmax fan, eh?
I like them. I love them. They're good. They're very brutal. So like Newsmax is coming out with. Newsmax just came out with that they have proof that, remember the Hillary Clinton's 30,000 emails that disappeared, that the Russian collusion between Trump and Russia was just a distraction picked up by the media to get you distracted from Hillary Clinton's investigation and flipped onto Trump. And they overplayed it for 2 fucking years just to attack Trump. And they have proof of that now. Everything's a distraction, my friend. COVID, like, I bet you COVID was just created. Part of the reason was so they could do mail-in ballots to rig the election. Guaranteed that was part of their solution to get it.
That's what you think, eh? I know a lot of people that think that. Really? You think people,
I think it was part of the reason.
Would bankrupt itself just because of Trump?
Okay, look at this, for example. Tyler and Andrea, they traveled the world, or not traveled the world, but they went to Romania last year, and all those other.
Get people in trouble, but sorry, Evan and Susie, what?
Evan and Susie will travel to Romania,
Myler and Nundria, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so they come back and I ask them, how's COVID out there? And they're like, the borders are open, and whatever the media is saying out here is completely live. What's happening over there? They can travel freely, and the COVID isn't that bad out there. Right? And then you come here, our entire Western civilization, North America, is completely controlled and manipulated by the media. Look, CNN got caught 3 months ago when Trump was in office about remember the Syrian bombings happened a couple years ago? They're playing pictures of burning buildings. That was actually a burning building of some place in Kentucky like 20 years ago that they got caught playing in the Syrian bombings. And then that got hush. And then another distraction came up, so CNN could get rid of that view because they played something else, right? So everything is a fucking lie that you listen to on the mainstream media.
I'm surprised no one's knocked on your door and Joel's maybe even disappeared for thinking the way you think.
Whatever, dude. Fucking come kill me. Like, put me on women. I don't want to. If this is the way the world's, I'm getting so depressed. If this is the way the world's going, I don't want to bring children in this world. I don't want to be here. I don't want to live. Canada is an amazing country, but if this is where they're going to start doing, like, this is the first start. They're doing government facilities where if you travel, you have to hang on the government facility until you're proven that you don't have COVID. That's just the first step. Now they're going to have the next step, they're going to have military checkpoints in between provinces to make sure you don't have COVID. Like that's the next step. And then people don't understand, like once that is set up, it's never going away until you're vaccinated.
Which you're not going to get, obviously.
Fuck that, man. I will never get a vaccine. I will eat healthy, work out. I will go get COVID and then record myself for 14 days.
It's so hard to understand what you're saying, bro. I mean, are you for it or are you against it? Just speak straightforward. F no, I didn't effing get it. Yeah, well, are you gonna get it or not?
No. I meant I'm not getting the vaccine, but I'll go out and get COVID and film myself for 14 days.
One thing nobody could accuse you of is like not saying what you mean. I think that's what probably there's probably 90% of people that are offended by the way you talk, and then 10% of people are just like, he says what he means. We need more people that just say what they mean. I disagree.
Yeah, just remember my Facebook post about the hair salon.
What he's saying, right?
My hair salon guy. I've been going to this guy for fucking 10 years. And I got asked,
what the heck are you going to a hair salon for?
Oh, no, it's just my buddy or ex-buddy now. And I go to the hair salon and I fucking perfectly polite and calm. And I'm just saying, yeah, I don't think COVID's real. I'll never get the vaccine shot because I think this is a fake virus. I get a text message later from him saying from his boss, if I want to get my hair cut there again, I have to not talk about COVID because my views on COVID offend the other people that get their hair cut there. I'm like, I'm free speech. I can say what I want. I wasn't swearing. I wasn't being rude or derogatory. I was giving my view on COVID. And I'm not allowed to talk about my freedom of speech. Like, no, not here, or else you're not allowed to get your hair cut here ever again. I'm like, hey, fuck you then. I'm not getting my hair cut with you guys anymore. I was like, you're attacking my freedom of speech. They're like, well, they get offended with what you say. They don't agree with your views. I'm like, I don't care. My freedom of rights, Bill of Rights is protected against the views. I don't have to care about her being offended. If she gets offended, tell her not to come back. Well, no, sir, you're being very offensive on your views on COVID. And I was like, holy fuck, this is what the world's turning into?
Yeah.
That's fucking scary. And that guy was my friend for like 15 years.
Yeah, it's not even about the topic. Forget COVID. It's the fact that you're now the ironically the culture of tolerance won't tolerate anything against the media's narrative, which is just essentially just pumping out robots.
Hive mind, that's what they're bringing out. If you don't think all the same, you're an asshole, a moron. There's like our news channel keeps saying, like, I was so upset when they said this about Trump. They're like, thank God Trump's gone. Like, why is his name still on that building in Vancouver, his Trump Hotel? Well, that's so offensive. Trump's an asshole. He's a racist. He's a womanizer. I'm like, where do you get your information from? Like, you watch the news, that's where you get information from. So you're brainwashed, and then brainwashed people are brainwashing people here, and people are tuning in like, oh, I hate Trump. Then you have people in the States where their son or daughter is pro-Trump, but their parents are Democrats, and the kid is too scared or fearful to say what he likes or his own opinions because he's scared of a backlash from his own parents.
Right.
Like, how is that free thinking? How is that you have to conform to what the narrative is, that Trump's an asshole? But how is he an asshole? Just him ending the Korean War was one of the biggest things I've ever seen a president do. He ended it. He shook hands with North Korean, whatever you want to call it, dictator guy. Like, he ended that shit. Yeah. So that was just one big thing he did. And I'm like, that right there is a great president.
Yeah. And the media will just say, oh, he's shaking hands with the enemy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he does. If he cured cancer, they'd find a way to find a defense.
But that's why I love Trump so much, because he would point out CNN at his rallies, fake news. Like, look at the crowd here at CNN, and they just turn the red dot off. Oh, you turned the red dot off. They're not filming us anymore. And he just attacked them so bad. And then when Trump lost the voting race, or what you want to call it, the CNN attacked him so bad. I was so mad with the things and comments they said about him. They were so mean and so rude to him.
Was there any merit to any of his criticisms? any of their criticisms against Trump? So you like Trump because he's bombastic, he's
I
narcissistic.
love Trump because he stands up for his free thinking mind, even though he may be a little crazy the way he says it, but he says it the way he wants to say it without giving any fucking shits about how people think he should say it. That's what I love, because that is true free speech. That is true free thinking. Most presidents or prime ministers talk in a fucking calm little annoying voice, and you don't even understand what the fuck they're saying half the time. They don't even answer the questions at the right time.
Probably the most infuriating thing when I listen to a Justin Trudeau media interview. It's, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Did you see that one? We're like, what do you, sir, what are you doing to reduce plastics in your house? And 5 minutes of, well, me and my wife and the immigration and what we're doing and the population. And then he's like, paper, plastic, water bottle things. I'm like, just say you're not, just say you're recycling, or just give me something that I can relate with, right? It's like,
no.
obviously, so you're BSing so far. Even your mouth can't catch up with your brain.
It's like the government thinks we're fucking idiots, so they talk to us like we're fucking idiots. Okay, but the other 50% of the problem is that no one is literally standing up and doing anything about that shit. There's a few Republicans in the States.
Yes, but do what?
Revolution, fuck you, buy a gun, fucking take out a government building, hang a politician for fucking lying, do proper research, get crazy, get fucking crazy. Because you know what, Jay? You can laugh, but they're never going to fucking stop until something like that happens. You have to understand that. We could talk and talk and talk day on end, but only the way to change a government, bullets change government, not fucking peaceful protesting. What has that ever done? Nothing. Everyone makes fun of the no mask people at the art gallery in Vancouver. I went there and protested with them, and they got made fun of so bad online. Oh, they're against masks and all that stuff. Look at the guy that sang the anthem for the Canucks. He went there and sang the anthem at the art gallery against the fucking mask, and he gets fired for it. Former Canucks singer is now fired for protesting his own free will thinking of no mask. Masks don't do fucking shit. Like, they don't do things. They don't do anything. I'm sorry, but people are fucking idiots. And then you have Bonnie Henry talking about, like, well, my decision making isn't based on scientific fact. It's based on me colluding with the Albertan science officer or health officer up there, and we're just colluding to each other, and that's where we're making our opinions, and that's where we're making our restrictions. It's not based on scientific fact, because someone called in and called Bonnie Henry out. The scientific fact proves that 80% of the population is asymptomatic to this fucking shit. So why are we closing everything down? It's enough is enough. And then she completely did a Justin Trudeau thing where she was like answering the question with another fucking question, detouring it. And then they just move on to the next question. They don't even give that debate at all. Nothing. Then you have people calling in, oh, we love you, Bonnie Henry, you're a fucking saint. Then they glorify those people because they agree with the narrative of the lie. The lie is so fucking big that, like, it needs to stop, because it's going to cause a revolution and people are going to get hurt. That's where it's going to get bad. It's just going to get that way. You have people already talking about revolution and fighting back. The whispers are starting to happen all over the world, and it's going to start happening. Look what happened in Italy. Italy finally stood up to its government and opened 50,000 stores and said, fuck you, you're going to come arrest 50,000 people? Let's go, us against you. And the government of Italy finally gave up. And they never showed that on Western media. You can just look it up on the internet. That's it.
Yeah, no, I heard about that. Yeah, I was just telling Anne, it's like Italy they said enough is enough, and they just started opening up the restaurants and stuff.
Yeah. Power of the people. Power of the people. We have the power. Look what happened even January 6th, where they rushed the Capitol Hill. The government people ran away scared little bitches. The people have the power. You just have to stand up and say no more. You can do it without bloodshed. Just say it no more.
That's what the solution is to you?
Well, I think the government will make if that happens, I think the government will be like, hey, you don't want to listen to us? Martial law, or whatever they call it in Canada, and they'll bring out the military. And then, but the military is us. So there's a lot. You have to also think that the military has its own opinions too.
You're like the Canadian Alex Jones, bro.
No, I'm getting to the point that I'm thinking crazy shit in my head, where I want to start hurting government politicians that were on to ruin the rest of my youth in the next decade lockdown. Huh?
We'll go down that rabbit trail.
No, I'm controlling myself, but the thoughts are there because I'm starting to get I'm starting to get in arguments with people just at the mall, like, because I can't wear my mask fully up, and I have a fucking medical exemption for my allergies, and that's not good enough for them. I'm like, this Bill of Rights that we have in Canada, like, overpowers your suggestive rules. Your rules are not a fucking law.
Yeah,
It's
I
just a
think it even
guideline to follow.
it
That's
even
it.
says in there, like in the stipulation, like even like regardless of if there's a pandemic or an emergency, like your rights still supersede these. But then that's where it's tricky, right? In their mind, they're going, well, you could have COVID. COVID's deadly. COVID's killing people. You're not wearing a mask, so now you're potentially killing people because you're going to the mall. You're selfish. That's what you got to deal with.
And look at Bonnie Henry made that other announcement. I think it was last week, where she's like, "I'm telling everyone to stay home. Do not travel. Do not visit your friends. Don't visit your family unless you live with someone. If we do it now, we don't have to do it later." I'm like, Bonnie Henry, logical thinking. You will never be able to kill this virus at all. We never killed the flu, the fucking cold. We never killed fucking HIV, AIDS. We never killed fucking cancer. We just lived with it and moved on. Okay, we never even killed the Spanish flu. We just lived with it and moved on. That was the only way we got through this. Then you're fear mongering everyone. Oh, another 9 people died, and then she finally says the age, all in old age care homes. But hey, lock down for Christmas. You're not allowed to see your fucking mom because you're gonna get her sick. You're not allowed to see your son in Alberta because you're gonna get him sick. Who fucking cares, man? This is our free will to do whatever the fuck we want, right? It's enough's enough, man. Like, I'm surprised Bonnie Henry hasn't disappeared yet.
Oh my goodness, you're holy smokes, man. Oh man.
Well, I think more people should be fired up so shit starts changing.
Yeah, I think, well, what is it? Ontario, they just went into their second lockdown.
Isn't there lockdown where they're not even allowed to fucking leave the house after between
Yeah, I think it's
5
on
p.m. and 7
Quebec.
a.m.?
Like some guy got nailed by the police for walking his dog.
And what is that, like a fucking $2,500 fine?
Yeah, it was an expensive fine. And
Okay,
then,
so look at this. If you dispute that in court against your Bill of Rights, who do you think would win that court case?
well, I
What
think,
judge would convict you on that?
I guess they would say, well, it's special circumstances that override your Bill of Rights, right?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
could be a
everything's
good,
shut down.
could be a good judge, or it could be a bad judge, right? So, and look at this, for example. So we've been having to wear mandatory masks since, I don't know, Christmas. I can't remember when the
Yeah,
fucking
why don't
thing.
you wear one right now, bro? You could be getting
Getting you sick through the computer.
viruses can
So,
transfer
anyways,
through Wi-Fi.
so we've been mandatory masks, and we can base all of our decisions on just common law, or not common law, just logic. Okay, so the cases keep coming. The masks clearly aren't working. Not at all. They're not working. But hey, triple mask it, because you got to wear it for the next fucking year. Next, Joe Biden. Look at Joe Biden. He signs that executive order, 100 days on federal land. Everyone has to wear masks. He goes in the president's office and takes off his mask and starts fucking signing orders in front of everyone on national TV. Like, but then his whole family, Hunter Biden, everyone there, no mask. But hey, it's okay because he's the president. He is allowed to do whatever the fuck he wants. But you rest of you people, you gotta listen to the rules. Like, that is just fucked.
Oh boy, I don't even have a counter argument. Like, you're not wrong.
No, no.
Because you're a white supremacist, racist bigot. That's why you're thinking.
No, I've ashamed him, a neo-Nazi now.
There's some serious issues with COVID, man. The issue is the issue is that you can't talk about it. That's the issue. That's the issue. Like you said, you can't even go get a haircut, where that was a good place to go and shoot the crap with your
Yeah,
bro.
I shoot the crap with John all the time, man.
Like, I do that every time we go for a meal. What do you think of all this COVID stuff? And then the waitress like, oh, like, I don't know. My boss told me I should wear a mask. I'm like, do you think it helps? She's like, oh, I don't really know. But like it's just nice to be able to talk. Like, yeah, you probably have a different opinion. What do you think of Trump? Oh, I went to go get this keto cake with Ange when we're studying. We go there's just a place down the road there. And I asked the lady, this was during the elections, like, what do you think of the American elections? Are you following? She said, yeah. Who do you want to? Biden. Why do you like Biden? because Donald Trump's a dick. I'm like, oh, like, and like, that's fine. That's what 95% of people will say. And I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
what do you like about him? Well, like, he's just an asshole. I'm like, yeah, but like, what is there policies against him you don't like? Or what do you like about Biden? And then I got it down to her saying like, yeah, like I only like would vote for Biden because I don't like Trump. And like,
But yeah.
you see that's potentially dangerous though? Like, do you know what Biden's behind? No, he's just not Trump. It's like, okay, that's you're entitled to that. Like
Yeah, do your fucking homework. I tell everyone that listens to this channel, a lot of people that listen to this channel are super awakened minds and have the same views, point of views us do. Everyone does their own homework, but they're also learning and listening too. Jay is a very smart person, or we call him the Frizz. I'm a very smart person because we do our own homework. It's not like I'm not even against Biden. I just do my homework on him. I do my homework on Trump, and I just weigh out the opinions of the options of so many different testimonies and stories of everyone. I'm like, okay, well, what the media is saying is clearly inaccurate of what he's saying. Do your homework, your own fact checking. And then Joe Biden, he just canceled all those jobs and he fucked over the pipelines. He's done so much bad in the last 2 fucking weeks, and he had to have military protect him in his inauguration. What does that fucking say about elections right there? You should be loving your president, not against your president. Like, so it's just logic. You can see it. And I think the world elites or the Illuminati, whatever you want to fucking call them, they don't even care about being caught. They're so forthcoming. When they banned President Trump from his Twitter account, so that means a big tech company is more powerful than the most powerful person in the world. That person that could nuke every country 10 times over, this killer a person that we trust every fucking night. And the big tech and look at Ted Cruz attacked the guy that owns Twitter, the Twitter owner. He's got a big little beard and he looks like, and Ted Cruz is like, this guy looks like he lives under a bridge. And how did this guy create Twitter?
Yeah, it's tough because it's his business. He can block or he can do what he wants.
And you know what, Jay? You know what he says against that? He says, well, there's other alternate platforms that people can use to communicate on. So then they invented Parler. Yeah. Parler came up, and then they shut Parler right down because it's on Amazon servers. Like right there. Like if no one's writing against free speech platforms.
Too much red wine here, bro. Red wine and talks with Joel on a Friday night.
Woo!
It could be worse, man. It's good stuff. Interesting. Well, I appreciate the conversation, man. Yeah,
so I want to know what your fucking solution is. What do you have any solution ideas or anything?
What's my solution? Well, I would say as a Christian, here we go. Here it comes.
Down the rabbit hole.
Here comes Jesus. As a Christian, we're told like not only is it going to be bad, it's going to get far worse.
Far worse than now.
Even right? As a non-religious person, you would enjoy the book of Revelation. One, it's really difficult to interpret, but secondly, it's all death and war and just wild stuff and apocalyptic language and prophecy and stuff that I think your mind's more tilted towards. But they're not to be cynical, but biblically speaking and looking, even if I wasn't a Christian, if I just read history, recent history particularly, I was going, okay, I mean, any wise person goes, well, to look forward, we have to look back. And what did we do? I mean, how old do you think the earth is? Doesn't matter, because thousands and thousands and thousands of years. What do we have to show for it? War, famines, earthquake, natural disasters, death, and then somehow humans have encroached forward, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But, we went from war with bow and arrows and rocks to swords, to shields, to, guns. And now we're like, what is it? How many countries have nuclear weapons? I don't know, 15 states.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Germany, Pakistan, North Korea's, Iran, Israel. Is Israel nuclear? And I'm not sure. All they can do now is just push the button and blow up like massive sections of the world.
Mhm.
And I think sadly and cynically, that's kind of inevitable. I mean, war seems to be part and parcel with the human experience.
Human
You and I
nature.
just happen to have like wars fought a little bit differently now. But we,
Right there, Jay, what you just said, I had a conversation today with someone about that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
People think war is like, invading bullets and shit. I think I'm trying to tell people and teach them this is a new type of war. This is economic war, right? This is
Yeah, no,
biological
you're
warfare.
100% right. There's an ideological war.
There's
There's
the war on the
chemical
mind.
warfare.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a war of
Just
ideas.
because, and then people are so also taught through, say, movies and stuff like that. This is what a war is: World War II, World War One. That's what war is. That's the only type of war. But then people are not introduced to modern warfare, where countries know that they can't go tank because they'll just destroy too much shit. So now they're gonna go economic, attack your economy, attack your mind, brainwash you for the last 20 years without you even knowing. And you can go up to a person and be like, "Do you think you're brainwashed?" No. What's your view on Trump? Oh, I hate him. Okay, you've been successfully brainwashed.
Hmm.
I have.
Okay, but
How
to
do you know?
stop you right there, and
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but they're going to say the exact same thing about you. So how do you,
Oh,
what's the
yeah. No,
solution,
I agree with you on that too. Yes, they would say
right?
the
So
same
what's the
thing about me. Yeah.
solution there when they go, what are you talking about, bro? You're the one, look at you. You'd wipe Trump's ass if he asked you to, right? They're thinking the exact same thing about you. But like, Trump's your
Yeah,
god.
yeah, yeah.
You're
You're,
worshiping him. You just don't even know it. So what do you say to that?
dude, you're 100% right on that one.
That's where it gets into like a pissing war. Like, bro, you're guilty of the same thing you're accusing me of.
No, I agree with you on that one. So I
So it
guess
has to come down to conversations where you can beat them with the facts. Like Ben Shapiro says, facts doesn't care about your feelings. Like you have to factually say
oh,
why
I
you.
love Ben Shapiro. He's so good, and I love how he's not on either side, but he's all about facts, and he
He's a
really
human
debates on
robot,
facts.
bro. I don't even, he's a human robot. He's just like,
He's
break.
good though, man. I follow him on Facebook. He's got some really good fucking debates. And that's what it also comes down
Right?
to, Jay. It's like how you say we can't talk about things anymore, but there needs to be healthy debate with facts. Like prove me wrong. If you prove me wrong, I will apologize and I will educate myself more in the right way. That is perfectly normal. But don't sit there and say I'm wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Let's kill each other. Let's not even talk to each other anymore. Like I'm a fucking loser because I stood up for what I believe in. But that's what this whole entire war or revolution war by the founding fathers was fought for, was your own beliefs, your right to a good life with your own hard work. That's all it comes down to. But we can't even debate about that shit anymore. So
There's one of my favorite thinkers. He's a British guy, super smart, Douglas Murray, and he said that in a time when things have never been so great, we act as if we've never had it so bad. And that's so true when you unpack it, when he's talking about like if you were born today or even in our generation onwards, like I mean look at what we're doing right now. Like this, my laptop is beaming up stuff to a satellite in space, hitting your house. I'm talking to you instantaneously. If I want food, I can call what is that, skip the
skip the
dish, and within
dishes. Yeah.
20 minutes I've got a burger and a blizzard and all that crap. We have it so good. It's almost a problem where we don't have any real problems. I'm not saying we don't have like problems, but we don't, because we don't have real significant, we're not starving, there's no famines, we have abundance of food. I can within a 10-minute radius, I can hit up Superstore, Safeway, I can hit up Shoppers Drug Mart. If I have a headache, I can go to the clinic. If I need a doctor tomorrow, I can go. I can solve all my problems. And that's a massive blessing. Thank God for that, right? Abundance of food. I've got a fridge full of food. That's never been the case, right? 100 years ago, like we wouldn't hop in a car. This conversation would be impossible. If I wanted to see you, I'd have to hop on my horse and plan a big thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you,
And
but
these kids
also
and you and I, we don't know how good it is. And we just sit there, and instead of being grateful, we've become narcissistic and entitled. And what we do with this
egotistical
technology,
too.
instead of using it to flourish and self-actualize, what do? We send pictures of our genitalia to each other on Tinder or something. Hey, want to see my dick? Like, cool. So you've got these 15-year-olds doing nothing with this like amazing privileged time to exist in human history, and
Mm-hmm.
they're wasting it. Where
Yeah.
and I'm guilty of it. I'm not preaching down. I'm like, I've done a lot of stupid things too. but it's like, it's such a waste. We're so ungrateful for what we have. We live in such a good time, but we, like Douglas Murray says, we act like we've never had it so bad.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Jay.
Like,
And then
like
also,
I've never starved. I've never, even when things were tough when I grew up as a kid, like I still had cereal, I had food, like I still had a house.
mhm,
It's like I never had war. I never had famine. I never had like sickness
starvation.
where I
Yeah.
was dying.
Yeah. What also comes down to, I always try to teach people that history shows us that a nation will rise and a nation will fall. A way of life will be lived out, and then that way of life will no longer exist anymore. I always tell people like the shopping mall era, watching hockey games, just how you're talking about all like talking to the on us on computers. That's just a way of life for now, but things will change. It will rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall. That's just how the world works and always will be. And a
Right.
lot of people are like born into our lives today. Yeah, we have a great life, man. Like we live more better than most of the population in the world lives.
Oh man, I'm not trying to be like, that's such an understatement. Like you and I can't even sit back and fathom how good we have it. You have access free. I mean, it's socialism, so it's technically free, but you pay for it. You have access to every doctor you need. You have access to every food. It's already been prepackaged. It's all you have to do is stick it in your brand new oven that heats. You don't need to hunt. You don't need to gather. You don't need to go on some journey with a bunch of men to hunt an animal or fish. If you need your appendix out, like what was it in 100 years ago, you would have died. Now that's just a walk-in procedure that takes what, 2 hours? Like my appendix
Yeah.
burst. I mean, the doctor even told me, he was like, yeah, like 50 years ago, your son would be dead. It's like, yeah. It's like, goodness sakes, we should be so grateful, but we're not. We don't.
But it's also today though too. People die from that in other third world countries and stuff, right? It's just first world countries.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, even first world countries. Like, what was the statistic? If you watch Steven Pinker, he's a psychologist. He's talking about where we're at on a global scale, and he's like, we've never had it so good globally. World hunger is down. I'm not going to spew out the statistics, but he says it's like by a record. And like science growing, technology growing, education worldwide. Considering we just went through World War I and World War II, we're doing pretty good as terms of safety. He's like, we've never really had it this good. It doesn't justify this outrage.
Yeah, I agree with you. It comes down to what's gonna happen next, what's gonna happen next, what's gonna be fixed, and then you just like you said, to go forward, we have to look backwards, right?
Okay,
And
so
so
the cynical side and the positive side. Tell me what you think the next 25 years leads to. If this, just tell me what you think yeah, well, just that. What was
positive timeline or negative timeline.
Yeah.
So let's just go with the negative timeline first. That's pretty easy how to predict that. So negative timeline is going to turn off to it also comes down to perception, right? Good and evil is based on one's perception. So really you can argue there's no such thing as good or evil, but based on your own perception. So if the world elites did come together and they're like, okay, the way the world is going currently, it's not sustainable. We're going to breed ourselves to extinction, blah, blah, blah. Something has to be done with it. So if they came up with the idea with the mass extinction by giving everyone vaccines, and then 2030, a good portion of the pop.
I have to interrupt. Sorry. That's what you think the agenda is from the world elites?
Yeah, that's what I think it is. It makes more logical sense.
You mean like the people that are just worth crazy amounts of money? That's what you're saying, like
The
trillionaires?
people that control the world, yeah, the elites. The governments are just pawns, right? Just like someone said the other day, should we get mad at China for this virus or what they're doing to the U.S. economy? Like, no, it's like they're just a pawn in the bigger battle of things. They're just being used to implement these ideas and control our media, etc. So what I mean by world elites, a lot of people like on this channel, we call it the Illuminati, the cabal, or just the richest people in the world that just think they can control the world in their own views, like Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and all people like that, or the people that own the Federal Reserves.
Those are some of the elites. Bezos,
yeah. So
the like the wealthiest people.
Yeah, money controls elections, money controls governments, money controls everything. So just follow the money. That's all you gotta do.
See, I could see people saying, "I agree with you with your diligence, but you lose me on your conclusions." I agree.
Because I wasn't done yet.
Sorry.
Okay, so the negative timeline is what's happening currently. This COVID thing is just going to be overplayed. It's just like Hitler said in World War II: tell the people a lie, keep telling them, and they'll eventually believe it, and they'll just go with it. So that's what's happening here. Everyone is walking around like drones right now. They know in the back of their head something isn't right. You can hear it everywhere. People talk, whisper about this stuff that something isn't right, but no one's doing anything about it, and they're waiting for trusted plan where someone is going to do something about it and fix this world. But that's dumb. That's cheap thinking. So negative timeline is going to go where it's going to collapse the world economy. People are going to be dependent on the government taking care of them financially. It's become a social income service of worldwide, and they're going to bring in the new world order, and then it's to be control. You're going to be no more free thinking, controlled media. Everything you're going to do is going to be communist. That could be a negative timeline. We're going down if someone doesn't stand up or people don't stand up and do something about it, because you will lose your freedoms. History has proven time and time again that even the Constitution, American Constitution, says that every generation needs its own revolution to put its government in check, or shit like this is going to happen. Okay. So the positive timeline is where we're going to have to go through a dark time where we're going to have to revolt, hopefully in a positive way, but positive actions like just protesting really doesn't change shit. Okay. You can already make a debate argument that even elections don't do shit because they're all rigged, right? So there's going to have to be a revolution to create a positive timeline, and whoever is in charge of the future timelines, of the positive timelines, it's going to have to be free, based on free thinking. But shit's going to have to change. Like, shit will never go back to pre-COVID era. It can't go that way. It has to change, and people have to evolve spiritually. But I don't know what to bet on. So
that's kind of the negative and positive in one.
Yeah, well, it's based on perception. Like, I agree with, if this is a world elite attack on the population, I do agree that we are overpopulated and that something needs to be done with that. I totally agree with that. I do agree with having more control where our society is going, because without it, we will breed ourselves into extinction. The way we treat the world is not sustainable with just the environment, and we need to move forward with that. So there are some positives that are coming out of it, but a lot of it is people are used to their freedoms, and they're going to hopefully fight for their freedoms. So
interesting. Okay, so you're on board with the climate stuff.
I am and I'm not. Like, I don't, there's so much disinfo. So you got one person saying that it's bad. Someone now is saying that it's not, we're not affecting the climate. It's just climate change is a natural occurrence every couple thousand years. It just happens. We can prove it by core samples that this is the environment 10,000, 20,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. This is a natural occurrence. The world has to cycle itself through cycles to replenish itself. And if it kills off a population, it kills off a population. That's just natural selection. That's been like that for millions and billions of years, if you think the earth is that old.
So funny how you talk about death so casually.
Well, because in my perception that a Christian view doesn't have is that I know death is just another reincarnation somewhere else. So I'm not too worried about this vessel dying, because I'll just go somewhere else.
Right. Yeah, I think global warming is another divisive argument position where
it's just another scam, just another tax scam.
There's no room for nuance. Like, you can't talk about it. Like, yeah, I don't think I've ever met anybody who's not against climate stewardship. Like, who doesn't want to take care of the world? Canadians do it quite well. We recycle, we put our garbage away. Our parks are nice. I mean, like, if you throw out garbage, I mean, we do well to take, I think everybody wants clean oceans and clean air and all those things. But if you're skeptical of like the big AOC, what is that? The Green New Deal, then you're instantly, you're put into this camp. And it sucks because it leaves little room for any discussion. That's what's a problem for me. Like, with what you say, like, I don't know what I agree or disagree with in some instances, but I appreciate that you can speak about it. We need to just speak. Mm-hmm. And there's a growing interest in people that want to silence people who have an opinion, and that's historically that's quite dangerous.
Yeah, no. So we're gonna do 10 more minutes here, and then that's gonna be an hour and 20 minutes. and then we can bring you back on. And I'm just getting burnt out now, so.
We're just getting started.
Yeah, I know. We could talk for hours and hours, but we'll do multiple shows on different topics, whatever you want to do.
Starting to get into it, bro.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Well, you asked what I think the solution is.
Yeah, please enlighten us.
I don't know if I can enlighten us. Jordan,
what do you think it's gonna take to change this? Besides spiritual battle, which is the obvious one, but like, for example, you're a Christian, right? So in your beliefs, you know, Jesus is a savior and is going to come save you guys, correct? So is that what you guys are going to do? You guys are just going to wait for Jesus to come and fix things, or are you guys going to take action yourself?
You're giving me 10 minutes to unpack some of the most important questions you could ever ask me. You've heard of Jordan Peterson, obviously.
Yep.
He has this idea of personal responsibility. I think that's part of it. I think it's a bit shallow in some sense, where I think that, like, in what's that Cherokee proverb that talks about there's a son and grandfather and they're talking and it's about good and evil, and the grandfather says that there's two wolves that live inside everyone. One's good and one's evil. And then the son says, well, who's going to win? And then the grandfather, in his wisdom, says, the one you feed. And so in terms of dealing with a macro level issue, societal issue, politics, we need to deal with our own personal evil or capacity for it on a micro level. And as a Christian, that's the Christian message, man. It's essentially, it's wrapped up in you and I are capable of evil. We've done evil. Our bodies, our flesh desire to do things that aren't good. The biblical language is sin, lying, stealing, cheating. When we see a beautiful woman, we want to do all kinds of things to her. And then Jesus saying, I hate those things. I'm going to be slaughtered in your place. That's the Christian message. You're guilty. You can't pay your punishment. I'm coming to pay your punishment on your behalf. That's the Christian message. That's my hope. I think that's my answer to your question, where I don't think, like, you can't lift up another person and say, oh, Trump's going to save, because everybody's capable of evil, including Trump. Obviously, read his biography. He's done what every man would do if you were a billionaire. He sleeps with beautiful women. Like, really? Is that a surprise to you? Like, some billionaire guy sleeps with extremely beautiful models? Wow, how controversial. Like, no, not really.
I know, everyone does. Every rich guy does that.
You have that kind of money and cash and power. Is it good? No. What's the answer? So I think we need to deal with our own evil wolf that lives within us. And if more people stepped up to the reality that they're capable of being pieces of garbage, like, it's not fun to think of that, but like, we're all capable. If you know yourself, you know you are capable of being that. And so what are you going to deal with that? So the Christian message is Jesus dealt with that. But if you don't subscribe to Christianity, if you go the Jordan Peterson realm, it's like, well, you still need to deal with the fact that you're capable of lying and cheating and being a piece of garbage. So you need to accept that and overcome that. Obviously, as a Christian, I would point you to the left, but like, either way, we want people who acknowledge that they're sinful or capable of gross things. Like, gosh, I'm so, you see it all the time. People doing horrific things. Like, what was that guy in a traffic jam? Some guy honked at him and he got out of his car, grabbed a baseball bat and smashed the guy's head in and killed him. And people are like, that's outrageous. I can't believe he did that. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, that would feel so good to do that in the time. Like, when you get cut off in traffic and someone's doing something horrific, Like, oh,
Yeah.
imagine like taking a bait. Like, yeah, is it wrong? Yes, obviously, it's totally wrong. But that's what your body wants to do when you're full
Oh
of.
yeah. I got
Somebody
cut off
cuts
today
you
on the
off,
highway.
right?
Some
Your
guy
finger.
fingered me.
Oh,
The thing.
you're just like, man,
Oh
if
no! What I thought, I'm gonna go in front of this guy because I have a huge hitch on my truck. I'm gonna pit on my e-brake and I'm gonna make him go right through my fucking truck. That's what I thought in my mind. Then I'm like, no, that's wrong. Let's keep going.
a very profound conversation with somebody. I won't say her name in case she watches this, and she said that we were talking about this. We're talking about everyone's personal capacity to commit evil. I don't mean evil like some, I don't know what comes to your mind when you hear that word, but we're talking about that. And she goes, I was at the park with my kid, and some other kid came up. She said she watched him, and he came across the park, and she pushed her daughter down, and her daughter cracked her head open. And she said she was filled with something. She rushed up, went to the kid, and I said, stop right there. Just stop right there. Just tell me right there, what would you have done to that kid if there were no consequences and there's nobody else around? So some little kid came up to your daughter, pushed her down. She cracked open her head. She's screaming and crying. What would you do to that kid? And she says, oh, I would have bashed his head in. And this is a normal, decent person. This is a normal, decent human being. I was like, that is what exists in all of us. Mm. That very thing, right? That sense of revenge, that sense of justice, that sense of rage, and it consumes you. The only reason you don't bash somebody's head in when they cut you off in traffic is because there's consequences. Imagine no one was around and you had a gun and nobody was around to see it. There was no technology, maybe photo radar or witnesses.
You could get
Somebody
away with
cut
it,
you
would
off and you
you?
were having a bad day.
Yeah.
You would want to blast them. Oh, goodness sakes, of course. I could see it. Yes. Who wouldn't? That's what it means to be human. And it's scary and it's sobering, but it's real. And it's universal. It doesn't matter if you're white or black or gay or straight. You have that evil capacity. Doesn't matter. It transcends all your intersectionalities. Doesn't matter who you identify as. If you're young or old or black or white or straight or gay, you have that capacity in you.
No, I agree with you. So thanks, buddy, for coming on today.
Good chat.
It was a good chat. Oh, the shit drains me. What?
How long was that?
I think we're on an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I don't know.
My ass is numb.
The first one I've ever done, and no, thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate the conversation. I hope your audience finds something valuable. Like, forget whether they agree with you or disagree with you or me or you. It's just, can we have the conversation?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I hope they disagree with me on some things and put me in my place. I'm all about to learn, and write your comments on the video and let's teach each other. Like, I'm all down for that shit, man. Like, it's all about proper fact checking. Just like, for everyone example here, I made a real estate page on Instagram. I can only post a certain amount. I posted a few, and then Instagram started blocking me on Instagram and saying that my real estate postings are hate speech. Now Facebook has blocked me on my real estate page, saying that my postings are hate speech. My fucking they're just floor plans and places with the price and where they're located, and call me if you want to buy one. And it's considered hate speech, and they're rejected ads, and I cannot post them.
That's all you put was just real estate postings?
Yeah, on my real estate page, Joel Chase Realty on Facebook.
They probably tied it into your other thing.
Like, I'm not posting anything wrong on Facebook. I'm not being racist or anything. I'm just uploading videos from Newsmax and stuff like that. Like, that's not racist or hate speech at all. That's just, it's an opinion.
What will get in the way of whatever your quest is your communication. You're so to the point. You're so black and white. You're so no BS, which is like, people will absolutely love you for it and hate you for it. That's what's going to nail you. You'll say something that's true and you don't take people through the dance of the counter arguments. You just get right to the point. Like with the slavery thing, the black person, like all people have historically been enslaved. Right. You just go right there where you don't go through the sensitivity thing, and you
No,
just,
I can't do emotion on it. It's unlogical to base
and that's what
thought
made.
process on emotions. So
Yeah, no, I get it. I respect you for it. I mean, it takes courage. I'll give you that. It takes courage to say that. I think anybody should give you that. But
yeah.
it's definitely going to get you in trouble when you live in a politically correct country that's only getting more politically correct.
Oh, it's just, and then what's the point of people talking about freedom of speech that clearly is not a thing? I can't think what I speak. It's wrong. It's piggish. It's against the narrative. So it's just like humans. At the end of the day, you have to fight for what you think is right. Come together as a civilization, a positive utopia, if you can do it. If not, you're just going to go down through a negative, manipulative, censored hate speech life, and your children will be born into this, and they're going to think it's normal, and then it's done. The new world starts.
Before you end, you should read 19. Oh, actually, maybe you shouldn't. Actually, it would just confirm everything. But you should read 1984 by George Orwell.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
It's a little bit of it's not really an easy read. It's not a hard read, but it's a little. I think you would. And he wrote this. When did he write this? 1930, 1940? Like he wrote this, like, I don't know, 80. Yeah. And it's just like, whoa, he was a prophet in some sense. And that's where you like Shapiro be like, this is Orwellian, because that's what he's referring to.
Yeah.
Called 1984. Okay, well, if you're tired, I'll let you go, sir. Thank you so much for having me on.
Love you, Frizz. We'll get you back on soon, okay? Make some time with your busy schedule. Let's get you on once a week.
All right, bud. Thanks. Have a good night. Take care.
Okay, love and light. See you later, buddy.